For the last 3 to 6 months, I've been studying the aspect of fashion and the aspect of influence, and I've came to the conclusion that everybody wants to be a fashion influencer or have some influence in fashion and clothing. And we typically think that people with bigger status on social media platforms have a bigger say when it comes to fashion, and I came to the conclusion that in general that is not honestly true. So I figured I might as well go and make a video, since I've been studying this for the last couple months, and actually dive into the differences between inspiration and fashion inspiration. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, y'all see by the title and the thumbnail, we'll be talking about having a following doesn't mean you have a influence on fashion. Now, when it comes to fashion, I feel like a lot of people actually think the number of followers that you have across platforms automatically means you have an influence on fashion. I feel like a lot of y'all actually misconstrued that, so I figured I might as well go in and make a video, put y'all boys and girls on game, and let y'all know that your following does not equal an influence on fashion. We just gonna go through the context of fashion and really learn about what influence has to do with fashion. And before we get into the actual video, feel free to let me know what type of fashion content y'all would like me to bring to the channel in the comments down below, and I will start knocking those videos out for y'all, because like I said, closed mouths don't get fed. If y'all don't let me know what y'all want to see, I don't know what y'all want me to post on the channel. So feel free to let me know in the comments down below, and I will start knocking those videos out for y'all. And if you are new, make sure you hit that red subscribe button, make sure you hit that like button, and make sure you hit that post notification bell so y'all can be notified when I upload another video, because it does nothing but help the channel, and it's literally free. But I don't want to talk y'all heads out too much longer, so we're gonna go and hop straight into today's video. Now, to start it off, we have to figure out, what does influence mean in the context of fashion? Now, influence in the context of fashion refers to the ability of an individual or entity to shape trends, styles, and consumer behaviors within the fashion industry. These influencers can influence in several ways, such as trend setting, cultural impacts, brand relationships, the community engagement, the authenticity and authority that they have throughout the fashion space. Now, to actually have a real influence on fashion, you have to realize that an influence on fashion is more than just about how much followers you have across each platform. It's about the ability to inspire, create, change, and shape the way people think and engage with fashion. You have to have that spark to be able to influence somebody throughout fashion, because I feel like a lot of people honestly think just because they have a large following on Instagram, they have a large following on TikTok, that they can automatically jump into being a fashion influencer and have a say on what's in trend and what's not out of trend. And in reality, that's just not how it works. You have to basically build your platform off of fashion to really inspire and really have a influence on fashion. You got to be a day one fashion influencer to really have an influence on fashion. So like I've said, bro, influence and fashion are two completely different things. There are so many different types of influencers that a lot of people misconstrued for. When it comes to y'all clothing brand owners, I feel like y'all are the biggest ones to misconstrued influencer and influence in fashion, because y'all see an influencer that does YouTube lifestyle content, or y'all see an influencer that does stuff with food, hair, products. Y'all just see a lot of types of influencers. Y'all misconstrued the different influencers and the different people that these influencers have an influence on it. Y'all think because they have a big following that y'all can automatically send them clothes or pay them for a promo to take pictures or wear your clothing. You're thinking the engagement that you're gonna get from their people is gonna come directly to you. In reality, that's just not how it works. And the reason y'all misconstrued it is because y'all are seeing the following that they have. Y'all probably see how they engage with their audience, and y'all think because that they engage with their audience and they have a pretty decent amount of following, that you can send them the clothes and do what you do, and y'all think it's gonna equal y'all getting sales, rather than you going to somebody that actually has an influence on fashion, that's gonna actually pull that traction to your clothing brand, your clothing drop. These other types of influencers do not have an influence on fashion. They might have an influence on hair, they may have an influence on cooking, they may have an influence on cars. You should not typically be sending these people clothes if you're thinking you're gonna get traction from their audience, because if they decide to promo your clothing item, they're promoting your clothing item to an audience that does not look into fashion. These people are not looking at their content for clothes. These people are looking at their content for cars, for food, for hair products, for jewelry. There's a lot of different types of influencers in this space when we're talking about influence. So if you really want your clothing brand to flourish, you really need to be sending your clothing items to people that actually talk about fashion on a day-to-day basis, people that have actually built their influence off of fashion, and people that are actually going out there inspiring people with the way they put on clothes, with the way they shop, and with the ways that they are dressing and putting together cool combinated clothing and outfits. So like I said, when it comes to influence, a lot of y'all misconstrued fashion influencer with influence. Those are two completely different things. You have all types of different influencers across these platforms, and you have your fashion influencers. So y'all gotta separate them, and y'all gotta stop misconstruing those terms. Now, the next thing I want to go over in the video is one of the most important things when we're talking about fashion and being a fashion influencer, and we got authenticity. Now, when your audience believes that you are genuine and transparent, they are more likely to value your opinions and recommendations. Y'all have to be authentic when we're talking about fashion, we're talking about clothing, and we're talking about building an audience behind your fashion. You have to be very authentic with yourself. You have to stay true to yourself, and you have to basically build this audience off of things that you see fit and things that you feel like is right throughout your fashion journey. But a lot of people honestly don't be authentic when we're talking about being a fashion influencer. A lot of people are too busy looking into what is the next popular trend. They're too busy looking into what other influencers are doing instead of looking into what they actually like, what they actually see fit throughout fashion, and how they could actually separate themselves from trends, separate themselves from fashion influencers, and really just go on their own route when we're talking about fashion, finding your personal style and being that influencer that you want to be. A lot of y'all get that misconstrued, and like I've told y'all in previous videos, there's nothing wrong with influence, and there's nothing wrong with taking influence from influencers or taking influence from certain fashion trends. But when you're taking influence from fashion trends and you want to be more true to yourself and more authentic, what you need to be doing is analyzing a trend before you decide to purchase into this trend. Because when you're analyzing the trend instead of just buying into the trend, that's actually giving you time to actually go out there and figure out if this is something that you really could resonate to your style. Is this something that's really going to help you stay true to yourself? And is this something that's going to help you stay true to your aesthetic? Because when you're asking yourself these different questions, when you're jumping into a fashion trend, it's more likely to be more authentic to you. You're going to have a lot more fun with styling these clothing items, and you're just going to be really resonating this clothing item with your style and really helping your style elevate to that level that you want it to be at. Because if you're just sitting here looking at what's the next popular trend and you're analyzing and seeing what everybody else is doing with the trend, and you're doing the same exact thing that everybody else is doing, you're not being true to yourself, and you're not really being authentic. You may be building an audience off of what they see on TikTok or Instagram, but once this trend goes out of style, you're no longer going to be wearing this piece. You're going to throw this piece on the back burner, and you're going to be switching into another trend, and you're just going to be trying to keep up with the trends. You're not going to be very authentic to yourself, and you're not going to be very authentic to your audience. So if y'all like fashion and y'all like certain fashion trends, like I've always told y'all, it is okay for y'all to look into a trend, but when you're looking into a trend, you want to actually figure out, is this something that you could really resonate with your style, how you could really separate yourself from the trend, separate yourself from the world, how you could really go on your own route, and how you could bring this fashion trend into your style and really revolve it and fill it around things that you are already wearing throughout your style. Because you do not have to switch up your style just because you're bringing new trends into your style. You can continue to dress the same exact way that you're already dressing. Just bring these trends into your style, fill it around the ways that you are already styling it. And I'm trying to tell you, bro, it's going to make this trend a lot more settled with your style. You're going to be doing your own thing. You're going to be having a lot more fun with styling cool combinated outfits, cool combinated clothing, and you're going to be a lot more authentic and true to yourself. Like, I feel like this is why a lot of people get lost when it comes to fashion, and why a lot of people don't actually have the influence on fashion that they really want to have on fashion. They don't have that influence because they're not staying true to themselves, and they're not staying true to their aesthetic. Authenticity when it comes to fashion is very important. You have to stay true to yourself. It's easy to lose yourself when we're talking about fashion trends and we're talking about influencers. You can easily lose yourself. You can go in style identity crisis. You can go in styling runs. There's just a lot of different things that y'all really can do to lose yourself when we're talking about being authentic and staying true to your aesthetic. So like I said, bro, if y'all really want to be an influencer and y'all really want to have an influence on fashion, y'all got to start looking into the authenticity, and y'all got to actually start figuring out how y'all could really separate yourself from what is popular and separate yourself from the world. So I'm not too much going to go in depth on talking about influencers, because I done talked about influencers on so many different videos, and I've already told y'all so many different times on how y'all could really pull influence from different influencers without copying the influencer style or without being like another influencer. Y'all literally just got to look at a few different influencers, take few key elements that really stand out to you throughout an influencer's styles, and once you look at 2 to 3 influencers that you started out with, you analyze their styles, you found the different things that really stood out to you, you pulled them out their style, then you bring these 3 different styles together and you start matching them and making cool combinated outfits. You're going to be staying true to your own aesthetic, you're going to be staying true to yourself, and you're just going to be bringing 3 different styles that you really like together to create your own cool combinated outfits. So like I said, bro, one of the most important things when it comes to fashion and being a fashion influencer is authenticity. Now, all these other influencers that y'all look up to that really don't have any influence on fashion, it's going to be harder for them to be a lot more authentic because they're not in the fashion space. So like I said, bro, when it comes to being a fashion influencer or having an influence in fashion, you have to figure out how to be authentic to yourself, authentic to your aesthetic, and authentic to your audience. Many people equate following count with influence, and this stems from a lot of different reasons, as because of how social media and digital cultures operate. Now, someone with a higher following has greater visibility. Brands and individuals may believe that if you have a higher following count, their content can reach a larger audience. And like I told y'all earlier in the video, somebody with a higher following count than you may not even have any type of influence in the fashion space, and people and brands will resonate to this person before you because of the number of your followers. They may think because you do not have a big or large amount of following that you do not have any influence in the clothing and fashion space, when in reality, I feel like a lot of the smaller creators when it comes to fashion has a bigger influence than a lot of the bigger creators. A lot of bigger creators just have gotten big off of other things and then switched into the fashion space, and people think because they built their platform already that they automatically can just jump into fashion and say that they have an influence on fashion. In reality, that's just not how it works. It just makes it a lot easier for brands to go out there and really look at their pages, because their pages are more visible and they can reach a larger audience over you. So if you're a smaller fashion creator and you feel like the work, the outfits, and the influence that you are giving off is being overlooked, it probably is being overlooked because of the amount of followers that you have. Social media has tricked the world into thinking following count means you can influence anything, when in reality, it's just not right. The way influence works is you find a specific niche and you influence that niche. So when you get followers from what you are being an influence to, they're only going to follow you for that influence. So if you're a hair influencer, they're gonna follow you for hair tips, hair products, just anything that has to do with hair. If you like cars, they're gonna follow you for cars. Then you have the people that follow lifestyle influencers. You have the people that follow fashion influencers. There's just all different types of influences, and social media and the digital culture has messed up a lot of people's mind into thinking just because you have a large amount of followers, that means you could influence anything. And with that being said, that makes it a lot harder for you smaller fashion content creators to be seen, because the higher following counts are hogging up the space, and a lot of these bigger brands are going to go to them just because of their following count. They're not necessarily going to go to these influencers because of their influence. They're going because of the amount of followers that they have. And just because you have a large amount of followers does not mean you are a influencer. Following count does not equate to influence. Influence is how you perceive yourself on social media, how you influence other people to do the things that you are doing. That's an influencer. So I don't want y'all to continue to get mixed up with influence and following count. Influence and following count are two completely different things. You can have somebody that has 10,000 followers on Instagram that has a more influence than somebody with 100,000 plus on Instagram. So it's not just about how much followers you have across platforms. It's about how you perceive yourself and how you influence the world. All right, so earlier in the video, I briefly talked about clothing brands, and I figured I might as well swing it back around and go more in depth on this aspect of fashion. Now, clothing brand owners typically have an influence on clothing. They do have an influence on clothing, but they don't have an influence on putting together outfits. And I feel like a lot of people, once they get a successful clothing brand, they start buying clothes, they start posting on their main Instagram page, they feel like they have a say and feel like they can say that they are a fashion influencer. And like I just stated, they do have an influence on fashion, but they have an influence on creating clothes. Just because you can create some nice cool pieces and people are buying pieces from your clothing brand does not mean you have style. It does not mean you have a say when it comes to fashion, because people fail to forget that fashion is more than just clothing. There's a lot more to fashion than just clothing and putting together outfits. You have to actually have an influence in the fashion space to say you are a fashion influencer. I ain't saying it's easy to run a clothing brand, but you can run a successful clothing brand and just be a clothing brand influencer. But nowadays I see a lot of people that have successful clothing brands try to switch into that aspect of fashion. And there's nothing wrong with expanding your brand, but I just honestly want to let y'all know that it's not about what you're buying and what you're wearing. It's about how you're putting it together, and it's about how you're resonating in around your style. And I just feel like a lot of people don't really understand that, and a lot of people are mixed up in the world of influence, and everybody thinks because you're influencing a certain thing that you can just jump into something else and automatically figure out that you might have an influence off of that as well. And it doesn't work like that. So if you're a clothing brand owner and you were not already posting outfit pics, making videos on fashion, you have an influence on the clothing brand aspect of fashion. You don't have an influence on the aspect of fashion of putting together outfits, talking about fashion. Y'all know how it get. You don't have that type of influence when it comes to fashion, but you do have an influence on clothing. I just had to kind of like break that down because I feel like a lot of y'all still misconstrued that, and a lot of y'all get those things mixed up. Somebody that has an influence on putting together outfits and talking about fashion, they may have a successful clothing brand. They may be in both aspects of fashion, but just because you know how to dress and you have an influence on fashion does not mean you're gonna have an influence on the clothing brand aspect of fashion. You may not be good at creating clothes. You might just be good at putting together outfits, but you may not have a sense of style to actually create some nice, cool, combinated pieces for a clothing brand. So you might have your influence in fashion off of outfits and talking about fashion, and somebody else may have their influence off of clothing brands. So just because you run a successful clothing brand does not make you a fashion influencer. Like I stated, you do have an influence on clothing, but you don't have an influence on the aspect of fashion and putting together outfits, if that makes any specific sense. Now, this little section of the video, I'm gonna highlight a couple influencers that actually have an influence on fashion. So if y'all haven't heard of these influencers that I'm about to talk about, I highly suggest y'all go check them out. So we're gonna start it off talking about Miles Beget. He has over like 500k followers on TikTok, and I know I stated that following does not equate to the influence, but he actually has an influence on fashion and influence on putting together cool combinated outfits with a lot of cool combinated pieces. So if you're looking for more variety, style, a versatile style, and you don't know anything about versatility when it comes to clothing and putting together outfits, I would honestly tell y'all to go check out Miles. But yeah, he has a pretty cool style. I actually rock with his style. So if y'all need some style inspiration, check out Miles Baguette on TikTok. He really be doing it when it comes to the fashion stuff. And the next person that I want to talk about, we all pretty much already know about this one. This is the main name when it comes to fashion, and we got that boy Cash K. Now Cash K has a big influence on fashion. He's been influencing fashion 5+ years, from YouTube to Instagram to TikTok. He just does it all when it comes to fashion. This is somebody that you really think about when you're thinking about fashion. This man eats, sleep, and breathe fashion. He can actually talk about fashion, and he doesn't go by his fashion just by putting together outfits and buying cool combinated pieces of clothing. He will actually sit there and talk about fashion all day. So I feel like he has a big influence when it comes to fashion, especially in the social media space. So if you have not heard of Cash K, I don't know what you've been doing. You literally been sleeping under a rock. He's literally one of the, I ain't gonna say he's one of the biggest creators, because there's creators out there in fashion that have more followers, or however y'all want to go by it, but he is a pretty big name when it comes to fashion. So if y'all don't know about the life of Cash K, go check bro out. He really be doing it when it comes to the fashion. Now for my females, I got a couple female influencers for y'all as well. I didn't forget about y'all. I got a few female influencers for y'all. So one influencer, she has over 1 million followers on TikTok, but I know a lot of y'all still don't know about her, and her name is Lil Rotini. Now she is an example of fashion when we're talking about fashion. She puts together so many cool combinated outfits. I like the way she layer her outfits. It's just a lot of cool things that she does that the average female does not do when it comes to fashion. This is somebody else that I know eats, sleep, and breathes fashion. She's very creative with how she puts together her outfits, and a lot of her pieces aren't even expensive clothing items. They're pieces from the thrift stores. So she just finds a lot of cool combinated pieces, and she likes to do a lot of cool combinated creative things that normal people are not doing when it comes to fashion and creating outfits. So if I was y'all, bro, I would honestly check out Lil Rotini. She's actually one of my favorite female fashion influencers, because I do like her style, and I like how she goes by putting together outfits. So if I was y'all, I would honestly check out Lil Rotini females. If y'all looking for style inspiration and y'all don't have any, check out Lil Rotini. And now the last female that I want to talk about, y'all pretty much have heard of her as well, because this is the girlfriend of the boy Cash K, and it is Icon Nikki. Now this is somebody else that has a pretty big influence on fashion and styling clothes, and I just like how she goes by fashion. So I honestly feel like this is somebody else that y'all females should honestly check out if y'all want to get into fashion, because it's like she can literally switch it up. One day she could go all feminine, another day she can dress more masculine. So it's like she's in between both. She can go streetwear, she can go, her style is just very versatile. So if y'all looking for somebody that has a very versatile style, I will honestly tell y'all to go check out Icon Nikki, because she honestly be doing it when it comes to the content in the fashion space as well. So go on and check out all these influencers I just put y'all on to. I'm telling y'all, these are real fashion influencers, and they actually have real influences on fashion. So like I did state, bro, fashion is more than just clothes. There's more to the aspects of fashion than just clothing and putting together outfits. And all the influencers that I done talked about recently does all of it. They do every single thing when you're talking about fashion, not just creating cool combinated outfits. Alright, y'all, so that indeed is gonna wrap up today's video. I hope this video entertained y'all. I hope this video informed y'all, and I hope this video just gave y'all the context of what a fashion influencer is and the difference between a fashion influencer and an actual influencer. And I hope a lot of y'all honestly realize that following count does not show how much influence you have. You can have a big following count and still have zero influence. I just need y'all to get that in your head and stop misconstruing people with bigger influences and thinking because they have bigger following that they automatically have an influence when it comes to fashion or influence in general. But like I did state, that indeed is gonna wrap up today's video. Feel free to let me know what type of content y'all would like me to post on the channel in the comments down below, because I will start knocking those videos out for y'all. Because like I did tell y'all, closed mouths don't get fed. If y'all don't let me know what y'all want to see, I don't know what y'all want me to bring to the channel. So feel free to let me know in the comments down below. But it's been your boy Ty, aka Tynotrixh, and I will catch y'all in my next video.